Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. I am using this asset pack here which currently has 3 levels. It has the very bottom level, it has a mid level, and then it has a very high level where you can go and explore. The only problem with it is there's no way to get between the levels. I think the intent of it was that you were to use these portals that would take you to each location so you can get around. But they're just static meshes at the moment, they don't really do anything. So in this tutorial we're going to create not just a normal portal system, but a future-proofed portal system where we can have a portal, we can turn it on and off, we can plug it into narrative quests if we want, and we can have things that unlock it, and then we can have it linked between 2 points so you can jump between and finally explore the full sections of the map. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to come and do is actually just create our portal blueprint. I'm going to come into my blueprints folder and I will create a MISC folder for anything that doesn't really sit into a normal category and they're kind of one-off things, such as a portal. I'm going to right click blueprint class and I'm going to choose actor. And I'm just going to name it BP portal and I'll open this up. So we actually need to add our portals into this. And for me, at least in my asset pack, yours might be different, that it's made up of 2 components. An outer arch, which controls the actual arch thing and is a parent, but we can get rid of the parent, and the actual emitter, which controls the portal effects. So all I'm going to do is come into the arch and I'm going to click on the static meshes browser find here, and I'm going to come into the portal, click add, and you'll see it wants me to add a static mesh for the arch here. So I'll just add that in and call it portal arch. There we go, so that's already halfway done. So the next thing I need to add is the emitter, and for me this is using the old particle effect system. For the cascading system, it's now the legacy. It's not the one they prefer, but it's the one I've got, so I'm just sticking with it for now. In the future I'll probably upgrade it, but for now I'll come back to my portal, and under portal arch I'm just going to come and add a cascade particle system, which is the legacy one, and you can see it's automatically selected it. I must have already got it, so I'll just call this FX. And you can see it's not in the greatest position, so let's rotate it around a bit and I'll move it into place like so. There we go. So that's pretty much the portal recreated. So I'm going to hit compile and save, and now you'll see if we drag the portal in, we have our basic portal set up just like that. So now we actually need to start coding it to actually work like a portal like we want. So the first thing I'm going to do is click the default scene route, and I'm going to come and add a box collision. And I'm going to scale this up so it roughly resembles the door of the portal. But I'm going to make sure it's not as thin as the door. So it roughly resembles the door like so you can walk in and out of it. But I'm going to make sure it sticks out just a little bit either side. Because what we'll do later is we'll use this, so when the player teleports to the new portal, they can't jump between them really rapidly until they've left the portal, then they come back into it. I'm just going to rename this to portal trigger. I'm going to scroll down to the collision preset, so I'm just going to mark it as overlap only pawn. So only pawns can trigger this because we don't want everything triggering it. And then I'm going to add an on-component begin overlap and a on-component end overlap, which is how we'll tell if it's left. So we don't need any of this stuff up here, so I'm going to delete these off. And now this is where we can actually start using the portal to tell it go to a different portal. So now here is our first distinction that you might want to make for your game. For my game, the plan is eventually to have the NPCs walk around and go into a portal if they need to jump to a location. And I'll be able to use nav mesh linking eventually to join portals together, so when they hit one, they automatically get teleported over to another one. However, if you just want the player to do that, that's where you can code it in now. Or you might want enemy factions to not be able to use it, or something like that. From the other actor here, and from the exec pin on both of these, you basically need to tell the trigger who to allow. Now for my NPCs and my players, I actually have an interface called BPI character. It's got a few functions that I reuse, but we can actually reuse this by dragging off other actor and saying, does implement interface, and I'm going to go BPI character. This will allow basically anyone with that interface, so for me it will be the player and the NPCs, to use this portal. However, if you want to go down this route, all I've done is gone right click, blueprint interface, and I've created it. Then on my NPC, in my case the ALS NPC, I've gone to class settings and I've added BP character here. And then I've done the same on my player, which means this will now flag up for the player or the NPCs and teleport them. I'm also going to do the same for the end. The next thing we need to do is we need to find the portal we want to join to. So before we start moving on to actually teleporting our character, I'm going to come into my world and add the portals where I need them to be. So in this case, I have this portal here, so I'm just going to drag my portal in, and I'm going to copy the location of the parent, and then I'm just going to delete both of them, and I can paste it back in. And the rotation for mine was 49. I can come and do the same for this one here. And then the only other portal I'm aware of is the one over here, which you can see it's actually a very large portal in comparison. So I'm just going to scale mine up in a moment. If I copy the position of this into mine, I can also copy the scale and set the rotation to 86.0. As you can see, it's now scaled the portal up and everything works how it should be because we built it as a blueprint. So there's the 3 portals linked together. So I can now go from the bottom to the second tier, and then from the second tier, and I've not still yet found where the third tier's portal is. So I'm probably just going to put it somewhere random for myself eventually and figure out where to place it. But I've not yet found where it is, but it'll work for now. So now that we have the portals, we need a way to link this portal, in my case, to this portal here. So normally we come and create a reference inside here of BP portal and link it to BP portal. But then we're storing all of the portal inside another portal's memory. And we don't really want to do that. That's not a nice way to do it. So logically, if you think about it, do we need this portal to know this portal here is the one it's linked to 100% of the time? No, we only need it when you actually run into the portal. So in my case, what I'm going to do is when you hit this portal, it's actually going to find it there and then that it needs to go to this portal here. So instead of storing all of this portal in this portal, we're just storing a small link to it so we can find it as and when we need to. This gives you a nice benefit, meaning you can actively change which portal this is linked to if you want. So if you had some type of lever or switch or something down here to switch between this portal and this portal over there, you can do that just by changing a small reference and it will find it on the fly, instead of having to store references and link to them every single time. So in my case, what I'm going to do is from the true here, I'm actually just going to drag off and do get all actors of class with tag. The actor class is going to be my BP portal. And then the tag I'm going to promote to a variable called portal name. And I'm going to make sure it's ticked as instance editable, which is this little eyeball. And then from the out actors, I'm just going to drag off and do get. Because I only want one portal. One portal shouldn't be linked to multiple portals because that's just going to cause issues. From the get, I'm going to drag off and do is valid. And I'm going to connect it up here. Now this is valid node is basically going to check when we find this portal, does it actually exist or have we returned nothing? If it doesn't exist, then what I'm going to do down here is I'm just going to print a string saying error portal not found. And then what we can do after this is just take portal offline. So if there's a problem and say one of the portals has been destroyed or whatever, you try to access it, it'll take itself offline. So you can't keep repeating this error. But that's something we'll look at in a moment. And then after this, we've now successfully got a link to our portal. So to make this easier, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to highlight all of this code here, what we've done after we've checked if a character has actually hit it. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to do collapse to function. And I'm going to call it teleport to portal. And I'm going to go into it. The reason I'm doing this as a function instead is what it means now is we can drag off this part here. And after this get, we can promote this to a local variable. And I'm going to call it portal. And the reason we're doing this is storing a reference to the portal, which I know I've just said we shouldn't do. However, since it's a local variable, as soon as it gets to the end of this, it wipes it from existence. It no longer stores it in memory because garbage collection will run at some point. Meaning we are storing a reference to it, but only inside this function. After it's got rid of it, the reference is lost, which is exactly what we want because then it's only temporary when we get it. So after the is valid, what we need to do now is actually teleport the character that has hit it in question into it. So I'm going to come back to my event graph and I'm going to grab the other actor and I need to put it inside teleport to portal. So I'm going to click on my function and I'm going to click input and I'm going to set the name of it to be actor and I'm going to set the type to be character because a character is any type of pawn or NPC or player. It all counts as it. And to avoid any conversions that we don't necessarily need to do, I'm just going to rename it to actor and plug it in like so. And what we've done now is given our function access to the actor who's trying to do it. So we can now teleport them around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to do get actor. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see that we now have the blue get actor, which is basically a shortcut to this link here. Be warned, however, if you come in and rename this, so if I call it actor 2, this reference will be lost. So you'll have to right click and then do get actor 2 in order to get it again. It's slightly annoying, but it does save you having a lot of wires flying all over the place. Now from here, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to come and set actor, location and rotation. And I'm going to plug it into the isValid. So now we need the new location and the rotation where the actor is going to actually be. And this is where we'll need to add a new component, because at the moment, if we get the location of the portal, you'll see it'll put it right down there at the body there, which means our character is going to spawn halfway in the floor, which is not what we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come and add an arrow inside the trigger, and we can position this exactly where we want the player to spawn. I'm going to rotate it in the right direction as well, so the rotation's correct, and it's in the middle. So if you hit the portal, it's going to spawn you your route right here. Now for most characters, if I drag in my NPC, the route is typically always in the middle for some reason. You can change this if you really want to, but by default it's always in the middle, which means if we put this arrow in the middle of our portal, he should be safe enough to drop. Now you could make this really defined and get the characters half capsule and do the mathematics to do it. I personally think an arrow is just a lot easier for everybody to manage, so you can move it up and down wherever you want it, and even if you wanted it in front of the portal, you can just drag it out and that's where they'll spawn. It's like a fixed point. And now I'm going to rename this arrow to portal target, and we can go back into our teleport portal. I can drag in our new portal local variable from down here, and make sure all your references for the portal come from this portal. Don't accidentally drag in your own, otherwise things won't work. And from here, I'm just going to drag in and do get portal target, and you'll see we have it there. And then from here, I can drag off and do get world transform. From this transform, I'm just going to right click and do split struct, and I can plug in the location and the rotation like so. So after we've now teleported the character and rotated them correctly, we're going to want to play some sounds. So I actually have some sounds I've got from some asset packs. You can find loads online. And I've added 10 of them and just randomized it in a sound queue by clicking on them all, right click, create single queue. You see I've got lots of different portal sounds. So what I'm going to do after I've teleported them successfully is just type play sound at location. I'm going to click my sound queue and I'm just going to click the little add button to add it there. Then we need to give it a location. So what I'm actually going to do is when you come and hit this portal, you're instantly going to be teleported to the next portal. Meaning when the sound plays down there, you're not going to hear it because you're up here now. So what I am actually going to do, I'm going to play the sound effects at the new portal you've arrived at. So I'm just going to drag this location over to here as well. So if you're teleporting to the second portal, it will play the sounds here instead of down there, which is more of a you've arrived sound. Perfect. So now we're looking pretty good so far. So we've now got it to teleport the character over. So if I come back to my world here, and if I click on my first portal down here, I'm just going to come and give it a tag, and we will call this one Portal 1. And then I'm going to come to Portal 2, which is this one here. I'm going to give it a tag of Portal 2. And then I'll come to the third one. I'll also add a tag of Portal 3. So we can find each portal we need. And then to simply link the portals, all we do is use our new variable to type in the correct tag name. So you could use gameplay tags for this as well. However, I've not added them into this project just yet, so I'm going to go this way. If you use gameplay tags, it just means you won't be able to type the portal names incorrectly, but you might have a lot of portals in there. So this portal name, I'm going to say you're going to go to Portal 2. And then this portal here will go back down to Portal 1. And then this portal over here will go to Portal 4, which we haven't got just yet. And then when I add Portal 4s, it will go down to Portal 3s. So in theory, we can actually try this now. You can see now, if I run over to my portal, you can see it stood there looking all good. If I jump into it, you can see I've immediately broke it with an infinite loop detected, which is exactly what I said would happen at the beginning. So what's happening here is I'm hitting this portal here. That's sending me up to here, which is hitting this portal here, which is sending me back down here. And it's going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and hitting every single one, which is not what we want. So we need to put a fix into it to say, once you've hit the portal and you're teleporting up here, disable this portal. And then that will be disabled for anybody trying to hit it until you've successfully walked away enough for it to be re-enabled again. So we're going to come to our portal here, and I'm actually just going to create a Boolean variable down here called B is blocked. So what I'm going to do just on my event graph, under these triggers here, I'm going to add in my is blocked here and drag off and do a not Boolean. And this is basically saying convert this to whatever it's not. So if this is true, this will be false. If this is false, this will be true. And from the return value of the interface, I'm going to do and I'm going to connect it up to the NOT and plug it into the branch here. So what this is going to do, when you first come in, the is blocked is not true, so it's true, and then is it an interface, it is also true, so it'll allow you to teleport. And then inside your function here, just before we actually move the character over, I'm going to get the portal that we're teleporting to, and I'm going to set is blocked to true. So that new portal we're going to is currently blocked. The old one isn't, so if somebody else runs into it, it will still work. But this is blocked for them. And then next time you come in, once you've teleported up, it's going to re-trigger this, see that it's blocked, be turned to false, and not allow you to teleport again, which is perfect. The only flaw of this current method is if you have multiple NPCs or players running around, and player 1 hits this, and jumps up to here, and just stands here and doesn't move, the portal will remain blocked, meaning if somebody else walks into it, it won't let them move out. If you have that method, what I suggest potentially doing is storing, instead of a boolean, a list of players who's blocked it, so currently in use by, and that'll be an array of actors. And then you can replace the is blocked by is the current other actor in the list of current users. That way the portal will always stay online unless you're currently using it, then it'll be blocked for you personally. So for a multiplayer game, that might function a lot better for you. The other option, of course, is to just move your arrow outside of the portal. So if I was to grab the portal target and just move it out of the radius, the characters can spawn in and they'll never hit that. But for me, I want the characters to actually stay within the portal. That's the way I want to go for my game. Now, the only other thing we need to do is unblock the portal. So what I'm going to come and do is copy the is blocked down here, and I'm going to drag off of the return value, do another and, but this time I'm not going to say is it blocked. I'm not going to reverse the boolean with a not. So I'm going to say when we leave the portal trigger, does the current actor have my interface and is the portal currently blocked? If the portal is currently blocked, then I'm just going to come and set it to not blocked anymore. And I'm going to compile and save. So you will now see if I run into the portal, it will be blocked and then put me up to the top until I've left it and the portal has now become unlocked. It also played the sound effects and I'm here like I want to be. I can run down and it'll take me back downstairs in here like so. So there we go. So now we have a portal. But at the start I talked about adding some more future-proofing features to it. So one of the features I'm going to do is the ability to take the portal offline and online. So for example, GTA games, they physically won't let you access an area until you've passed certain progression. So in my game lore, for example, I could turn this portal off and then have guards stood here saying, sorry, you can't access the portal, you're not authorized, or something like that. So let's come and make it so we can turn it on and off really easily. So I'm going to come back into my event graph of the portal, and just under all of the collisions up here, which I'm going to highlight with a comment just saying handle teleporting, I'm going to add a custom event down here called set portal online. And I'm going to make another event just underneath it called set portal offline. And then with these, we're about to trigger the actual portal to say whether it's online or offline or not. So when my portal's offline, I don't want the effects to be here. So if you've got a custom artist, they can make some cool little fade in, fade out animation kind of thing. All I'm going to do is just shrink the portal like that so it disappears into nothing, then it goes invisible, and when you turn it back online, it shrinks back up again. Just like that, really, really basically. So from my set portal online, we'll ignore offline for now. I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to drag off and I'm going to do add timeline. I'll name this timeline T portal online for timeline, and I'm going to double click it. I'm going to come and click add track at the top, and I'll do float track, and I will call this track scale, and I'm just going to right click near the start and do add key, and right click around 0.6ish and do add key to curve. I'm going to highlight the first one. I'm just going to set the time to 0, press tab and set the value to 0, so at the very start. Then I'm going to highlight the end one and set the time to about 0.6, which is the time that you want your portal to come online, and the value to 1. Like so. Then I'm going to come and set the length to be 0.6 as well. So you can see up here, if I scale out, it's between 0.6, but it goes to 1. So this will take 0.6, so 6 of a second to complete. Now I can go back to my event graph, and then on the update, we need to set the FX of the portal we're turning online. I'm just going to drag it out and do set world scale 3D, and I'll connect it into the update here. So in order to set the scale, we need to give it a starting scale and an ending scale. So we're going to need to cache the starting scale of the FX. So at the start here, I'm just going to do get world scale. I'm just going to promote it to a private variable called portal starting scale. And I'm just going to make sure it's set as private so nothing else can access it, and I'm going to connect it up. Now I know this is not the most efficient way of doing it, where we have to hold the vector in memory all the time, but I've not yet found a nice easy way to do it because you can't add a timeline inside a function. So if you know a better way, let me know below and we can update it. So now we have the starting scale, we can drag it in. And we know the ending scale because that's just going to be 111, because if we look at the Portal FX, the scale is just 111, so that's nice and easy. So from this starting scale, I'm just going to drag off and do lerp, and it's going to be lerp vector. The B scale will be 111, and I'll connect this up to here. Now a lerp is basically a pre-programmed mathematical formula to move a vector between 2 points, in our case 0, 0, 0, from the starting scale to 111. And as you provide the alpha and update it, it will tell you the division between it. So if you put 50, it will put between 0, 0, 0 to 111, it'll put 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, if that makes sense. If you put 0.25, it'll give you 0.25 kind of thing. It works out between 0 and 1 where it needs to be. So what we're going to do is from our scale is drag it into the alpha. This timeline will set its value between 0 and 1. So that'll be perfect for the alpha here. So it'll take it between 0 and 1. So if you had some wacky scale between 5, 10, 15, all you do is put them in and this alpha will automatically take care of itself, just like that. So if we're turning the portal online, we also need to disable the portal so it doesn't work anymore. So I'm just going to drag this across, and the way we're going to disable it is we're actually just going to turn the trigger offline so you can't use it anymore. So in the event graph, I'm going to drag in my portal trigger, and I'm just going to say set collision enabled, and I'm going to set it to no collision and plug it in. And I'm going to set it to, and you can see the portal trigger will now come online after it's finished fading in. You could even add a little delay node if you really wanted to, or something like that. And now we basically need to repeat almost the exact same thing, but with some minor differences for the portal offline. So I'm going to paste it down here, and it might seem like we're duplicating it, but we are actually going to change quite a bit. So the first thing it's going to do is come in and set the port starting scale to be our starting world scale, which is going to be 111 because we're turning it offline. Then this timeline, I'm just going to rename to T Portal Offline. And then it's got all the scale and everything set up already inside it, you can see, which is perfect. If you want your portal to shut down quicker, you can change it here. Instead of our ending scale being 111, I'm actually going to set it to 000. And then instead of collision enabled, I'm going to set no collision on it like so. And now we can compile and save. So now we've got ways to turn the portal online and offline. So I'll highlight all of this in a comment and do portal online/offline. So if you've got an event that you want to turn the portal on and off with, you can just call these and they'll animate in and animate out. So that's perfect for switches and such. However, one other feature I want to do is I actually want to do the same thing but in the editor. So if you want to make this portal turned off by default, we can nice and easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another custom event under here, but I'm going to call it set portal online _ editor. And then for this one, I'm actually going to come and tick call in editor like this. Now, the reason we can't do it for these ones is timelines don't work in call in editor functions. They'll just not run, meaning none of this will ever run, which is a problem. So if we're just doing it in the editor, we don't need it to be animated. There's no need for it. So what I'm actually going to do is come and grab the portal trigger and grab the collision enabled on the online one. And I'm just going to paste it straight in here so it skips everything it needs to do. And then I'm also going to do it for the same set world scale here. I'll just do it down here. But again, we already know the starting scale, which is going to be 111. And now I'm going to come and do the exact same thing with another custom event called set portal offline _ editor. And I'm going to do the exact same thing down here, but it's just going to be the offline version, which will be no collision, and it'll be a scale of 000. However, one other thing I would like to do, just for performance while we are here, is we don't need these portals animating even at scale 000. It's pointless. So what I am going to do is on the FX, I'm also going to paste it afterwards, and after it's set the scale to 0, I'm going to set the visibility to be nothing, like so. And I'm going to copy this up to the top here, and I'll also set the visibility back online, but I am going to do the same thing in our offline online functions up here. So once it's scaled the portal offline, so say you hit a switch, then it turns the portal offline and it hides the actual FX so it's not taking up any resources to run. And I'll do the same thing here. And now if we hit compile and save, you'll see that we now have a bunch of functions buttons here we can click. So if I click offline, the portal disappears. It will no longer work. You can see I can run up, the portal's here. If I run into it, nothing happens. The portal is essentially offline. Now I need to do some modeling and add something in here because it's a bit boring having a large open doorway, but we can fix that later. But yeah, so the portal's offline. If I come into the editor script here, just press Shift F1 and breakout, I can click it and I can just click portal online and I can come back and I can jump straight through it. Just like that. How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? We now have a fully working portal with the ability to turn it on and off. So we've set the online, offline buttons here, which are fine, but we're not actually using our other portal code here. So let's actually plug that in. Now in my case, I want to use dialogue and quests in order to turn the portal on and offline. So in order to do the dialogue, I'm going to use the plugin Narrative, the quest and dialogue plugin, because that's what I use often, but you absolutely don't need to do this. If you've got your own dialogue system, just find a way to add code into it. All you need to do is pretty much replicate the teleport to portal code we've got. So the one here, where it finds the portal with the portal name, and then instead of setting it, all you need to do is drag off and call set portal online or set portal offline. That's it. You just need to call that. So in narrative, what I'm going to come and do is I'll come into my narrative folder and I'll create a new folder called events. And inside here, I'm going to create a new narrative event and I'll call it NE for narrative event _ trigger portal. And I'm going to open this up. Inside my functions, I'm going to add a new event here. I'm going to overwrite the execute event. And then, like I said, I'm just going to go and copy the 2 bits down here, and I'll even do the is valid, and I'll paste it in here, and I'll connect it up, and I'm going to right click this portal and just do it as a local variable, because again, it doesn't really matter if it's local, it's only temporary. If it's not valid, I'm just going to connect it down and make sure it's unticked. If it is valid, then we know portal exists, so we now actually need to trigger it. I'm going to add a normal variable called portal state. And if it's true, the portal's online. If it's false, the portal needs to be offline. Then I can drag this in down here and I can drag off this and just do branch and connect it up. If it's true, then I know I need to turn the portal online. So I can drag the portal in just in the middle, hit that here, and I will do set portal online. And then I will do set portal offline for the false. Now you'll notice you can see the editor version. If you click the editor version, it will just snap into place like it does for us in the editor. You don't want to click this one. You want to click the set portal online or offline, otherwise it won't work properly. And then finally, just to clear narrative up, I'm going to make sure that both of these are into a successful return node like so. I also need to convert portal name to a variable so we know which portal we need to go to. I'm going to make sure both of these are ticked as instance editable, and then finally I'll come to class settings and I'm just going to neaten up the blueprint. So I will call it trigger portal. The category, I'll call it portals, and there we go. I can now compile and save. The final thing I'm going to do is overwrite the event of get graph display text. I'm going to delete this parent node off, and from here I will do append. I will drag off from A and I will do select string, and I will drag in the portal state, plug it in here, and I will say if it's pick A, that means the portal's online. If it picks B, the portal's offline. There we go. So now it'll say set portal name, so portal 1, and it'll be online or offline. So I can hit compile and save. I can drag in my NPC and place him about here. I'm not going to customize his mesh or anything yet, but I'm going to come and create a new dialog for him, and I'll call him DB portal guard. I'll call him portal guard 1. I'll open it up, and then instead of just saying hi there, I'll make him just come down and say, sorry, portal is offline, come back later. And then we'll just give the player access to say something like, I have a pass from the High Prince, and then otherwise we'll just let him say goodbye. If he says he has a pass, then the guard can say something like, I'll turn it on right away. And if he says he's going to turn it on right away, then we can come in and add an event for our trigger portal, like so. Portal we want to turn online will be portal _1, and I want it to be on and at the end of the dialogue. So now if I come and click him and give him the dialogue we've just created, and I'll call him portal guard 1. I'll also just overwrite his speaker name so it's correct. And then finally, just to make narrative happy, I'm going to give him a tag, portal guard 1. And now if we run up to him, we should be able to tell him to turn the portal online or offline for us. You can see now we can run up and he'll be there for us to talk to. If I run into the portal, nothing will happen. If I come and talk to the guard and angle it so we can see the portal as well, like if I stand here, I can talk to him. He'll say, sorry, the portal is offline, please come back later. And we'll say, I have a pass from the High Prince. And he'll say, oh really, I'll turn it on right away. And you can see the portal is now online, just like that. And now we can run up and we can jump through it, and we have a working portal through dialogue. How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? But it's now interactable in our dialogue system. However, you may have noticed the portal just kind of appeared when it was fully done. It didn't smoothly transition like we set it up to. And that's purely because we've started setting its visibility on and off. So on the portal online and offlines, where we fade it and lerp it, we're setting the visibility to true after it's already scaled, which isn't going to work. So I'm actually going to cut this set visibility. It's an oversight on my part. And I'll drag this comment out a little bit more and move all of this timeline across and paste it in here instead. So now the portal will remain invisible until you start actually transitioning over to it. Then it'll make it visible again, so the portal can actually be seen transitioning on and off. So you can see now if I run up to the guard, angle it and say I have a pass, the portal should fade in just like that. And with some artist touch you can make it far better, but there we go, the portal is now online. And you could easily do the same thing on the guard's dialogue by telling him to turn it offline as well. So we could add a condition here to check if the portal is online or not, so get the portal state. If I come into my narrative folder here and just create a new folder called conditions, I'll right click and do narrative condition. And for those not using narrative, a condition is basically a branch, an if statement to say, are we allowed down this path? If you can create your own ones of those, you should be able to follow the type of code I'm writing. I'm going to call my condition nc underscore is portal online. And I'm going to open it up. I'm going to overwrite the function check condition and just drag this out. And then I'm pretty much going to copy it, majority, and I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to connect it up. I'm going to set the portal name as a variable. I'm going to set the portal as a local variable. And then if it's valid, I'm going to drag my portal in. And on our portal, we have a few signs of telling whether it's offline. One of them is that the current visibility of the portal FX is invisible. Another option is we could use the collision to say, has it got any collision on it? Both work equally well. So I'm just going to drag off from this portal and do get portal trigger. And then from here, I'm just going to do get collision enabled, and it'll give me an enum. I will drag off this and do equals no collision. And I will do collision enabled query and physics and plug it in to the return here. So all this is going to do is get the portal trigger and say, at this current moment, does the portal have collision enabled set to query and physics? If it does, return true. If it doesn't, return false. And that's it. So if we come and override the get graph display text as well, I'm just going to plug it in here, do an append again. And I'm going to do is portal, and I will drag the portal name in, connect it up to there. The only other thing we have to do with this is we actually have to do a selector on the string to whether or not it needs to be online or offline. So I'm going to right click and do get not, which is a variable built into conditions and events. And if it's set to not, then we'll say offline. If it's not set to not, then it'll be online. So it'll say is portal online, is portal offline. And then the final thing I'll do within class settings, I'll just give it a unique name, is portal online, question mark. The category will be portals, and I will compile and save. Now this means we can come to the dialog here and add a condition to say is portal online. The portal I'm checking for is portal 1, and I want it to be offline, so I'm going to tick not. So if the portal's not online, we won't be able to speak to him. And if I dragged it over here and just add a play response, and I'll set it to auto select and say, please turn the portal offline. And then on the condition for this, we can add another is portal online. But this time I will say portal 1, and I'm not going to tick not. And then I'll give the guard some response saying sure thing. And then he can have an event saying trigger portal. And then we will tell him to set portal 1 offline with the unticked, and I'll make sure it runs at the end. So now if we try it, we can successfully ask him to turn it on and offline again. So you can see now if I run up to him, the portal is offline. If I speak to him, he'll say, sorry, the portal is offline, please come back later. I'll say, I have a pass, please turn it online. So he'll turn it back online. If I talk to him again, I'll say, please turn it off, and he'll say, sure thing, The final bits of future proofing we're going to do for this cool portal system we've built that's fully integrated to our game is an ability to tell quest tasks that we've turned it online. So if you've got an objective, turn the portal online, we can easily use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new event dispatcher called on portal online, and then I'll add another one of on portal offline. And then all I'm going to do when we set the portal to collision enabled here, I'm going to drag the on portal online. So we're telling it the portal is now online. So your quests tasks can plug into that event dispatcher. And then for the offline, I'll do the exact same thing down here, like so. And now we've added our event dispatchers here. We can actually plug them into quests now to create a task for setting a portal online and for setting a portal offline. For you non-narrative people, all I'm going to do now is create an objective which pretty much connects to this event dispatcher on online or offline and says complete the objective when it's turned online or when it's turned offline. If I come into my blueprints narrative folder, I'm going to create a new folder called tasks. I'm going to come and create 2 tasks in mine. The first one I will call NT for narrative task, turn portal online, and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to overwrite the function begin task, and then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come and copy again all of the code that we run for this, just this bit down here, because it's very useful. I'm going to paste it in here. For the portal name, I'm going to promote it to a variable. I'm going to promote this to a variable as well, but the difference is with this portal one, I'm going to come and take private, because we don't need narrative to access it directly. And now that we've done that, we can now bind to the event dispatchers. So if I drag off of here and type assign on, we should be able to see our portal online and offline. So I'm going to do my online one here and connect it up to the is valid. I'm going to make myself some space so we can fix the is not valid shortly. And then once we make it online, I'm just going to add progress, which will tell narrative's objective, add 1 quantity to this objective. For the is not valid, I'm just going to come down and drag that. I'm going to add a print statement to it saying error portal does not exist. We'll leave it to lock the quest so it can't continue or can't finish, because if you're trying to make an objective to complete a portal and it doesn't find it, it's a big error. You kind of need to fix it. And the only other thing I'm going to do is overwrite the end task, which gets called when you complete or fail a task. And then instead of just finding our portal again, I'm just going to come down and grab our portal. Then I'm going to come out and type unbind event from online. And we only want to use unbind event. We don't want unbind all events. Otherwise, it will try to unbind every single event we've ever bound to it. So if that's multiple objectives, we're running into an issue. And I'm just going to connect this event back up to the event we've just created up here. Even move it across to there. So when it finishes the task, it unbinds this event from that portal so it doesn't get triggered again. And now with a compile and save, I can come back into my class settings and just give it some details. So I will say turn portal online, and the category I will set to portals. And now we can compile and save. I'm going to come and duplicate this by holding control as I drag it and choosing copy here. And I will say turn portal offline, and I'll open it up, and I'll pretty much keep nearly everything the same, except the only things I will change is this event here where we bind and create the portal online, and instead I'm going to delete it and replace it with the assign on offline and connect it to the is valid and connect it up to here. And then again down here, we're not going to unbind from the online, we're going to unbind from offline, and then I will connect it back up to this event here so it clears itself up. And I can compile and save. Now you might be thinking, for such small changes, why are we duplicating the task? And you could easily add a boolean into it which says make portal online, make portal offline, and then just call it different ways. I'm just going for separation of concerns. I'm just splitting them just so when we right click in narrative quests, we have online, offline. The final thing I'm going to do is turn portal offline for the display name and compile and save. So now let's set up a quest to actually test this out. So I'm going to come into my narrative quest here, and I will right click narrative quest, and I will call it QB portal options, and I'll open it up. So the first thing I will do on here is I will just drag off and I will say turn portal online, because it needs to be online in the first place. Find a way to turn the first portal online. So the portal name I need to turn online is portal 1, and then when it completes itself, then I'm going to drag off and I'll tell it to turn it back offline again. Now find a way to turn portal 1 offline, and we'll call it portal 1, and instead of quest state 2, I'll just succeed. Now I can compile and save. For anyone who's not using narrative, I've just set a quest up, and all it does is tell my first objective to turn it online and my second objective to turn it offline again. It's not a permanent quest, but it's a good testing one. Then on my player controller, at the end of begin play, where I've set up narrative and such, I'm just going to drag my narrative component in, and I'm going to call begin quest. And the quest I will begin is the portal options. I can compile and save. That's not going to be there permanently, but it's a good way to start the quest for us to begin. So now it says find a way to turn the first portal online. Okay, so how do we turn the first portal online? So we know we can speak to the guard to get him to turn it back on. If I come up here, talk to him, he will say, I'm sorry, the portal is online, please turn it back on. And then he says, boom. And the portal has now completed. Look at that. Find a way to turn it offline. So great, we can use it. I can come in, I can talk to him again, and he'll say, sure thing. It turns off, and the objective is complete. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. However, there is another objective we could actually add to this to really make this a proper all-in-one portal, and it's one where you go through it, because we've not got one for that yet, and that's, again, really easy to do. So what I'm going to do is come back to my BP portal, and I'm going to create another event dispatcher called on portal transfer, and this time with this one, what I'm actually going to do is give it a input here. I'm going to come and set the input to actor, and I'm going to set the data type to actor as well. And what this is going to be is the actor who's triggered it. So in my case, as I said, when we run into it, I'm just checking if it's a character. If it is, then anyone can go through it, including NPCs. Well, we don't want an NPC completing our quest off. So what I'm going to do on my on portal transfer is pass the actor who's transferred it, which will go to the objective and say, this actor's just done it. That way, if you ever do want to say, make sure an NPC gets to a portal, you have that option as well. However, if you've made your portal so only the player can activate it, you don't need to add this input parameter, just keep it just like the other two event dispatchers. And then all we're going to say is on transfer to portal. After we've come all the way to the end and we've played the sound, then I'm just going to drag on portal transfer out, click call, and connect it up. And then the only other thing I'm going to do is drag off actor and do get actor, which is our variable we created at the beginning, just like that. The only other thing I've noticed is right here is if the portal's not found, we're not currently taking it offline. So what I'm going to do is just drag off here and do set portal offline. Just there. That's just something we've missed from earlier. And I can compile and save. So now with that, we can go and set up another objective. So if I come back into my tasks, I'm going to duplicate this turn portal online, and I'll just call it UsePortal, and I'll open it up. So again, we're just going to find the portal like normal. We're going to store it. We're going to error if the portal does not exist. However, instead of going through the online one, we're just going to come through UsePortal. We'll just bind on portal transfer and we'll connect it up, and this time you can see it's now given us the actor who's come from it. So in order for us to check which actor this is, the majority of narrative uses tags, so I think it's a good way for us to do it. So I'm just going to say actor has tag, and I'm going to promote the tag variable, and I will name it actor with tag. If it's true, then we can hit the branch and we can set it to add progress. So if my tag is player, then it will add progress. If my tag is Gerald, it won't. And then the final thing is to just unbind from it once we've done. So unbind event from portal transfer, I can just drag it up to the event up here. Like final thing, I'll just set the class settings and I can compile save. So now we can come back to our quest, and instead of us turning it off straight away, I can come back and say use portal, and I will set the portal name to be portal 1. The actor with tag I will say is my player. The description override will be now go to the second island. And once you've done that, we could even say use portal again here, where I'm going to say the same thing will be portal 2 because we've gone up, so I want to come back down. The actor with tag will be my player, and it'll say now go back down. And then once it's gone back down, then we're saying now turn it off, like so. So now if we compile and save, we should have to turn the portal on, go through it, come back down and turn it off again. So a good all the way around trip. And now that we've done that, the only thing left to do is to just double check that our player has the correct tag on him. So I'm going to come and find my ALS player. So I'll click my world settings and I will find my default pawn class. Here we go. So I'll just come to his class defaults. I will search for tag, and we can see he hasn't got a tag of player, so I'm just going to come and add it. There we go. Now if we compile and save, now we should be able to run through the portal. So now we can walk up to him and we can say hello, please turn the portal online, and then the portal's online. It says go to the second island. I can run up to the second island. It says now go back down. Okay, we'll go back down. And it says now find a way to turn the portal offline again. So I'll talk to him, I'll say turn the portal offline, and now you can see the quest has succeeded. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. There is a fully fledged portal system. We can activate the portals any way we want. We can turn them on, we can turn them off, we can do it in-game, out of game, we can activate it via an objective, dialogue, quests, everything is there ready for us to use. And just to fix the issue that I've had throughout the project, I have also now made it so we can access the third island. So if I run up here, I have placed the portal on the very top island. So once we go through this big one, you'll see we can now come out of the fourth portal in the 4th arena. I've just put this little path here, moved the bench across, and we have the portal, which works completely fine. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now have a fully integrated portal system to our game. We can place the portals wherever we want. They're efficiently linked, so it's not going to take up useless memory it doesn't need. We can turn them on and offline from the editor just with a tap of a button, so your artists don't have to code anything or go into the blueprints to do it, anything they need. You can set the details up really, really easily, and you can plug into it from dialogue or quests to get when the portal's online and trigger it just like that. I hope this helps, ladies and gentlemen. Have you got any other ideas you would add to the portal? Would you add some triggering online and offline sounds, which are really, really easy to do? What else would you add? Let me know down in the description. Thank you for watching. My name is Decryption. I hope you have had a fantastic new year, and I will see you next time.